Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Today I have the opportunity to work on a well-used and slightly older reel. This is the Penn Captiva Live Liner 4000. This reel was part of a group that was sent in, and well, David sent them in. We're trying to do our best to clean them up. They are well used and in need of a service. How do we know that? Well, you can see all of the dirt and the grease and grime and the like that's just sitting on the external pieces of this, including some hairs and other things sitting here, and well, the wear on the spools and the like. This was chromed at one point in time, or metal plated, right? So a lot of wear showing here. That doesn't mean the reel can't be serviced, shouldn't be serviced, and should be forgotten about. No, not at all. Just want to make sure that everything's working. And this bail is very tight. The bail is not tripping. We're going to have to see what's going on with that. And well, we're going to do a complete take apart service and evaluation of the reel, hopefully get it going again. A lot of times you get a bail issue like that and it's nothing more than it's just frozen with salt and the like, and generally from what we're seeing on this reel, there is a lot of dirt, and dirt will clog the swing of that bail. So we'll see what we can do there. Well, I'm going to just start by mopping up a little bit of the old dry grease inside the spool here that I see. Well, a good way to do that is to hit it with some penetrating oil. That'll act as a solvent. And a good way to make sure that you don't miss any of my episodes is to take the time to subscribe while I'm doing this. Hit that little button, and if you hit that button, well, use that notification as well. That'll let you know when I'm posting, and well, if you enjoy these kinds of videos, you won't miss an episode. So the Captiva was around the same time as the Saugus, and before the Battle Fierce Pursuit line. So it's probably about 20 years old now, 15, 20 years old. What I just did was I took that penetrating oil and I put it in both slots, and now we're going to see if we can't work that back and forth to loosen this up. It's loosening up a little bit, but not a lot. So we're probably going to have to do a little bit more of a cleaning there. And to do that, we're going to have to get to those bail screws. And I'm thinking those may be very well crusted or frozen. So we're going to let this just sit while we go on and do some other things. We're going to remove the click ratchet and the spool shim. And as I do that, I take my pieces and parts off and I put them in a parts tray. This parts tray is a fast food container. There's a lot of junk on here. That's one of the reasons why I wear a protective glove. I recommend you do the same. You're never quite sure what's in there. You're just going to assume, and you know what happens when you assume. But you'll assume that it's something like just grease, and you might find out it's something else, some other kind of chemical or the like. And preventive action helps a lot. This should be a 10 millimeter nut now. It is, and it comes off as a reverse thread. In other words, you want to turn that clockwise to take it off. And when I take my assemblies off, they do go into a separate corner of the parts tray. I try to keep them all separated. And let's pull up and out on the rotor there. And we can see we just have that theme is going to be recurring throughout this about the dirt. This one has a spring-driven anti-reverse override to it. It's full of dirt, so we'll do what we can here for a moment. Because I want to get underneath here. I want to go open up the case and see what we can do there. Okay, to open up the case, we've got another issue here. And this is a good example of probably why you shouldn't let these things go. Sometimes these freeze, and if you freeze, you can't even get your case open. You do not need to take both sides of this arm off. You can leave that one, and it makes the servicing a lot easier. Let's just take that one screw out, put it in a different corner, and remove the side that's going to have the piece here for that. Back off your adjuster. And I'm not sure in this case if the case will come off without that. So let's just hold a note here. We're going to remove the 4 screws that we can see. Then we'll see what we can do about the lower end of the drag system. I'm putting these in a different section than where that other screw came from. They may look like the same screws, and it's possible that even though they look like it, they may be different, so it doesn't hurt to do a separation there. And when you're taking these screws out, make sure that you identify any ones that are different. Right now they all appear to be the same. And just as I said that, the one from below here is a longer screw than the one above. So we probably have 2 short screws, 2 long screws, or maybe just 1 long screw there. The long screws going underneath this carrier right now. We got 1 more. Let's see if we can remove the case now. I'm just going to use a utility knife to see if we can get separation. Yeah, you can remove this case without removing the star adjuster. And well, this is a candidate for biggest mess, and we can see why it's bleeding out of the case. So we need a thorough cleaning, and that's kind of what this is all about. When you do your real service and repair, you want to clean it, you want to inspect the pieces and parts, and you want to re-lubricate when you're done. Of course, if you find any broken pieces and parts in there, well, that's a good time to go ahead and replace those parts. But as I did a ground test on this one, it all appeared to be pretty good there. Alright, so I got 1 long screw which belongs under the throw arm for that instant anti-reverse. Clean that up, set that aside. Got a couple of different things in this assembly now. I think the first thing we would like to do is to remove this shaft. You're going to do that by pulling down, wiping away some of the grease here. And this is probably a case where I should probably just stop the video, go do the cleanup, and come back because, well, there's just a lot of dirt and grease in this one. Sometimes the old timers would overpack your case with the grease to stop the intrusion of water. I'm not sure if that's exactly what they were doing here. We have a small screw right here that's holding on the clip lever, that's holding on your post, your axle shaft. I got this stuff everywhere. Let's go ahead and take that apart if we can. This is a good place to tell you to take pictures as you're doing this. Your pictures, well, they're worth 1,000 words, right? To use that old adage that a picture can help you with the orientation of your pieces and parts if you get lost along the way. If you're looking for a piece, maybe you can't find it. This should come up and out now. And this has got a hook to it, so notice the orientation of the hook. The hook is going to go in this way. Now we should be able to remove our axle shaft, bring that up, and remove our main gear. Now we can remove our crosswind block. And we can remove the crosswind gear. You do not need to remove the trip lever mechanism when you're doing your work on this. Well, I think what we'll do here is exactly what I said before. You don't need to watch the Good Housekeeping cleaning performance here. We'll just assure you that all of this grease and dirt and junk has to come out of here. And we'll come back when we get it all cleaned up. Well, that took quite some time, but We are cleaning the case. Now let's go up top and I'll take care of this assembly. This has got your roller clutch, your bearing, and your pinning gear in it. This is a good place to take a picture. The reason why you want to take a picture here is that you have this spring assembly over here. And if you don't take pictures and you've got your reel, all the pieces and parts, and you're kind of searching for the right answer as to where they go, and maybe this video isn't helping you with that, well, do what I do and go out to the internet and get the schematic for the reel. This one came from mysticparts.com, but it does show the full burst diagram for this reel. And well, you might be able to catch up or correct your errors using that. Generally speaking, if it's a reel that I haven't worked on in a while, I'll go out and do that anyway, because the diagram will tell me kind of the way that the reel is working, like that little spring there, and what I may need to do to complete the work on it. I think I have to take this spring off too. Kind of looks that way. Let's just swing that off to the side. That's the anti-reverse override spring, and we should be able to pull this whole stack up. And as we could suspect, this is equally messed. We have a carrier here and a bearing underneath. Note the orientation. The next one up is our override and our bearing, our anti-reverse clutch. We have a bottom. We have one totally overloaded, greased up pinning gear as well. And that's really why I wanted to get here. I wanted to make sure that the gears are clean. And one of the things that I do not like is that this anti-reverse clutch is loaded with grease, and unfortunately I'm not going to be able to do anything with that. So hopefully that's going to hold. While we have this out, we want to take the opportunity to clean the inner part of that cavity. Instead of just playing with fire there, I've got that spring is out, just dangling there. It probably would be easy enough to knock that off and go behind where the pinion gear sits, get whatever last grease is sitting there as well. Okay, this is relatively easy to reassemble. That's why I left the parts back on the desk here. I'm going to take fishing reel grease. In this case I'm using Penn Precision reel grease, not because this is a Penn reel, but because it's fishing reel grease. I recommend that you only use fishing reel grease. I oil my bearings, so I'm going to put some oil on this one. Put some oil on the top one. These are shielded bearings, so the oil will seep into those. Go ahead and put that on. Got a collar, and again, these things should run dry. This one was overloaded with grease. It's a chance you're going to take here that it may slip, but it's a chance I guess we're going to have to take. Leave that up. Carefully clean what you can out of this. Remember, you have that little spring sitting there. There's also a notch here if you were paying attention to it. This notch is going to go on both sides of that anti-reverse override. That's how you're going to set this up. I'm going to Q-tip. Yeah, it's a Q-tip. Inside here, try and get whatever excess grease I can off of that. This can go on to the assembly. I'm going to put it on like that before I put that top collar on. You have 3 of these little toggles or studs coming out. They correspond with the 3 segments in the case. The last one being right over here. And when we go to put this on, then we're going to load for that. I'm going to make sure that that override here gets set so that you have that spring. Push all of that down into the case, and we can grab that spring. I'm going to hold the spring on the one side because I don't want that spring to shoot, but this is the post that it's going to sit on, so let's make sure we get that onto the post there. I'm going to use a pick for that. Kind of looks like a success. Again, I'm not sure we're all the way down on this. I guess we're going to tell we're all the way down when we put this on. Now we're all the way down. And then we can take this tag end of the override, which goes in this little hole here, and we can complete the reassembly of that. Not an easy task, but I do use a micro pliers to try and give me the leverage I need. Kind of center it and bring it in like that. So now we're into the locked in position. We go back to our case and get the 3 screws that are holding that assembly down. And tie that off before anything goes bump in the night where it may be a problem. Now we'll close up the bottom, and then we'll try and figure out what's going on with that rotor. So David sent me a bunch of these reels, and each one of them seems to have a problem. We had a neat picture come in that I didn't do a video on, where the ramp, the trip ramp for the bail was totally worn out. That's a part of the case, so you lose. That would be this piece here. In the picture's case, that was plastic. It just didn't hold up to the test. Alright, I need to take a second here to clean up some of this dirt and debris. I don't know where all these hairs came from, but they're there. We're going to go ahead and put the bottom in then. We have a small washer that goes under your oscillation gear. I said washer, I meant bearing. And we can take the oscillation gear, which has been cleaned, so we need some fresh grease on that. And the oscillation gets grease on all 3 sides. To the teeth, on the face, and underneath. And when you set your oscillation gear, set the tooth through the bottom. These unfortunately are peened on. I tried to get them off, but the handle has been over tightened that it's flared the outside. So just grease the gear and oil the bearings. Kind of doing that in reverse. I'm oiling the bearings. Now I'll grease the gear. And you want to grease both sides of the gear. You want to grease the side that's going to drive the pinion, and the back side, which is going to drive the oscillation system. And I'm not going to over-grease like the individual before me did. And set that there for a moment, because I'd like to take the opportunity to install the carrier for your oscillation. This is the oscillation slide, or the crosswind gear. Call it what you will. I'm going to set that up on that stud. And I'm going to put the main gear back in if I can. Looks like we got that. And we can bring our shaft down. And you want to line these 2 cuts up. One side each on that block. Get your hole. Remember what we said, this is going to hook in from underneath and kind of go like that. And it's going to be like a gate. It's going to close. And once you close it up, there's that little screw, which generally I lose in the case. So I'm going to have to try and find a way to put this in without dropping it. One good way to do that is to Put a little dab of grease onto a screwdriver to see if you can't hold the screw with that to steady it as you kind of aim it for the hole. And tighten it down. Okay, that's all set. We'll put our case back on now, and then we'll go down below and we'll address the drag system. And remember, we had one long screw and 3 shorter screws. Okay, just finished tightening up on those screws now. Did notice that the spring came off of that post, so I want to put that back on. I'm assuming that kind of got tangled up there as we did some of this work. Test your anti-reverse. And well, I took a little break there. It's been warm, and this rubber band should come off, but it's not coming off. Apparently all of the dried greases and that have seeped in there have kind of bonded this to it. So I'm going to forego the taking or the removal of this rear drag. I did test this. It does seem to be functioning. And quite honestly, the drags, for the most part, don't wear out on that. That's not the primary drag on this wheel, of course. That only affects the time when it's in free spool. So generally speaking, they're fairly reliable. Let's take a look at what's going on with this wheel here from a bail perspective. So you want to test 2 things. We're going to remove the pieces and parts here. We're going to remove the bearings and that, so that when we test, they're not going to fall out. One of the things we notice is we got a lot of stress on the bail wire. This should line up here. That may be by itself why this is not clicking. There's a good snap here. This one's a little tight, probably from dirt. So the answer to solving this is twofold. It's loosening up this side here and checking for the dirt and debris. And we've previously sprayed this so that we can get this off. We're going to go do that. Over here. So you can see that there is a fair amount of dirt stuck on this bail arm here. A little bit of scarring going on. I'm just going to take a little file here and just run it over to smooth that stuff out. I'm not quite sure what that stuff is on there. It may be a little bit of corrosion. We'll take care of that. We can bring this back on. You also might want to just take a moment to look around that post. There might be a little bit of corrosion there as well. I felt the sand right there, so there's something that was on that. Put that back on and make sure that it's turning a lot freer. So a lot of time people assume that it's a bad spring when your bail is not working properly. And a lot of times they're wrong. Yeah, there you got it. Completely changes that. And now this is not firing because the tension is way off on this bail. So what's happening here is this bail is fighting the tension outwards on the arm, and it's kind of tough to trip it that way. It's because it's gotten bent. You can see this is not a nice arc. This is pushed out. Well, the answer is kind of simple. Bend it back. It's a wire. Just be careful. Be gentle with it. Take your time. It will spring back eventually. And you want to get it to the point where it's at rest. Not quite there yet. And you got to be at rest in two senses. It has to be at rest in terms of touching where that screw is going in and lined up. For the inward side of it. Now we're getting closer. Okay, let's see what we can do then. This goes back on. This goes back on. We put some oil on that. This can go either way. And you screw through. Making sure here we have a bearing in here. This back on. Now this should, oh, we've got another issue here then. With the same dirt that was on the one side. A lot better than it was. We're going to remove our case cover. Should be able to remove the arm. Oh, there's nothing going on there. That's what it should be. What we're going to do, we're going to reverse all of this again. A lot of what you do, you want to just be patient. I'll show you how to set the bail spring on this one, I guess. Be patient with the work that you're doing. Take this off now. We'll show you how this is set up. And again, just like the other one, it looks like we have a lot of dirt and debris in here, so let's clean that out. Okay, so when we go to reset this arm is going to go in this slot right here, and the other one's going to travel. So let's put this back together. Load it like that. Find your little hole there for the bail arm. Set that carrier in there and then press down and in so that it holds. Put your screw back on. Load that up. And you can test it to make sure you see how it works. That's firing better. Bring that bail arm over again. Put that side plate back on. reset this assembly. Okay, we should have an easier trip there. We do. Let's bring that back onto the rotor then. Okay, let's close this up. Remember we had the reverse threaded nut. Tie-down nut. Click ratchet and spool shim. And put our attachment back on the arm. Good news is there isn't any parts left in the tray. And examining that ramp when we had this open, I'm not sure if we're going to get a bail trip or not. Handle. And the screw nut is on the side. Tighten that down. Grab the cap and make sure that gets back on. Alright, let's see how we did. Well, it turns nice and free and easy now once you get rid of all that old dirty grease. I'm concerned that the bail may not trip. Oh, there you go, it is tripping. Hey, lucky us. Alright, there you go, that's how you do it. One more thing to do. That's the service of these drag washers. You want to take your pick and get that 5-sided spring clamp out of there. And I'm thinking these are felt washers. They are. These washers are totally dry. They need to be lubricated. But before you do that, you want to clean out the cavity. Like everything else in this reel, there's dirt in there. Okay. 6 drag washer system, 3 felts, 3 metals. Make sure they're all cleaned. And normally I'll oil the felt washers, but these are in pretty rough shape, just like the rest of the reel was. So I'm going to put a glove on and we're going to put some grease on there. I'm going to use a drag grease for this. And you want to put grease on there so that it penetrates the the washer and prevents it from drying out. That's the whole idea. And these are pretty dried out. He's lucky they didn't tear. One drag washer in. There's two of these keyed washers. They have a rectangular center. They go in next. Again, a fair amount of grease on there. Wipe off the excess. Middle washer is called the eared washer because it kind of looks like a face with ears. That goes into the slots. One more washer. So we started with a over-greased reel. Kind of finished with the over-greased reel by putting grease on. And there you go. Some kind of justice in that, I guess. Take your 5-sided clip. There's a slot inside the spool. Mesh it into the slot. Pull it in. This one doesn't have a lot of tension on it. It's pretty easy to do that. Again, clean it up as best we can. Let's go ahead and put that back on. And the star adjuster down. There's a lot of dirt on that star adjuster, isn't there? Penetrating oil usually cleans that up. Tighten that down. Make sure that it holds. It does. And back it off so you don't press that grease out. Alright, final test then. Free and easy. Let's go into free spool. You can tighten up on your rear drag if you want less. In the release, that's good. Make sure it trips. Locks in your main spool for fight. And that's it. Wow, that was quite an experience there. One totally over-greased and well-used Penn Captiva Liveliner 4000. How to take it apart. Spend a lot of time cleaning it, getting it back going again, including how to service that bail wire which was stuck. I hope you've enjoyed that. I want to take a moment to thank our first responders and essential personnel, police, fire, safety, rescue, and all of the folks dedicated to keeping us safe and out of harm's way. I do appreciate everything it is that you do. I want to take a moment to thank all of our subscribers and those of you that continue to watch. And if you haven't subscribed, I want to encourage you to subscribe. I want to wish everybody fun time on the water and a great day. This is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle.